On today's episode, Courtney and I sit down with Diane Delaney, the executive director of the Private Risk Management Association, and we're going to talk about all things high net worth clients, how to attract them, how to build relationships with centers of influence that can send you high net worth clients, the importance, and how to have that valued based sales conversations and getting back to the basics. With that being said, let's start the show. You need more life insurance premium every single year and you struggle with it. If you're anything like me, I used to struggle with the same thing. I could write easy $100,000 term policies all day long. But when it came to writing big death benefit, big premium policies, I didn't know how. And that's exactly why I created the six-figure life insurance producer course for you, because I wasn't trained in those conversations. And I don't want you to experience the same struggles I had to go through, where I was barely able to make a commission check and pay my bills. You get video training that teaches you exactly how to have the appointment conversation. Not only that, we teach you how to also bring it up on the phone, how to have those virtual appointments, how to pivot to your current customers, and how to actively prospect your current customers. Not only do you get the video training, but you get word tracks and scripts on everything that we teach. And the best part is you own this. One investment, one purchase, and you own this forever. So you never have to worry about struggling again when it comes to life insurance sales. Hey, welcome to the Insurance Buzz. We are your hosts, Michael and Courtney Weaver, and we have a very special guest with us today, Diane Delaney. Diane, how are you this morning?
Can't complain for a Monday morning. Doing well.
There
Yes.
we go.
Let's freaking go, Diane. Let's talk some insurance.
Let's do it.
Let's talk some insurance, baby. So I want to start off with high net worth clients.
Uh-huh.
That is what you specialize in. That's what you're the expert in. One question I get is, Michael, I would love to work with more high net worth clients. And so I want to bring the question to you. Diane, how do you attract more high net worth clients?
Whew, Michael, that's a loaded question. But what I can tell you in like the shortest answer possible is it takes time. Like, especially when you're looking at clients who have built up their lifestyles and their net worth. When someone is trying to tap into this space and they're newer to it, I mean, to build that trust with them, like we know, simple sales 101, that takes a while. But really, in this space, it's thinking about who are their centers of influence. We work regularly with wealth advisors or family offices. Who are those individuals that have access to high net worth clients? And that's a really good way to get in the door.
So, what would you consider? Where's the break for you? What makes somebody a high net worth client?
Okay, so that's also like a really loaded question as well, because we're looking at different insurance carriers in this space define affluent differently.
Mhm.
But for in my general world and doing this for almost 20 years, I look at someone with an average net worth of 5 million and above.
Okay.
But granted, when we look at people all over the country, net worth varies depending on location.
So, you've been in the space for 20 years and you are focused on sales and training, right? Before we got started, you're like, I love training in the insurance
You know,
space. Okay. So, how did you even get to this spot? Because I don't think this is something I have yet to find a person, maybe one, who wakes up and they're like, you know what, when I grow up, I am going to be in the insurance space. I don't know people that do that. So unless you're number two, there's a story here, right?
Yeah, no, I wanted to be a hairstylist. And my mom said, that's great. You're going to go get your college degree first and we'll take it from there.
Mhm.
And I go to graduate college with a business degree because figured I could take that anywhere. And my brother was an underwriter at a large insurance company at the time. So that was like my in. And they gave me two choices when I got out of school. Like, do you want to be a recruiter, which I'm not good at that, or do you want to go into training? Well, like fast forward a couple of years, I get connected with the division within AIG where I previously came from, the private client sector. And they wanted to build a program to train brokers on a number of things. Could have been their products, could have been sales. They really gave me free reign to run with that school. But I really had no business teaching any sort of broker insurance. Like I was in my early 20s. I knew nothing. But really fortunate. I had a sales consultant out of AT&T at that time. He had just retired and he worked with me for years on how to sell. And it didn't matter what you were selling. It was really about building that relationship and needs based and finding what the client needs. And him and I had the best time for, I'd say, about a decade. We built a sales school on how to sell and service better to high net worth clients. We delivered it all over the US, up in Canada, got to do it a little bit for some brokers in Australia. And I just learned by like speaking with thousands of brokers over the years of where their challenges lie. And I think for some, like communicating just comes more natural to me. So it doesn't mean I have the answers all the time on how to sell, but I could take what several sets of brokers have taught me over the years and deliver that message to another set of brokers. And I think that really kind of helped get me to this point in my career where I do finally wake up today and I say like, I'm so excited to train in the insurance space this morning.
Training is a lot of fun, man. You get fired up. You get to help
Yes,
people all day, every day, baby.
Gosh,
it
you're gonna
is.
headbutt me. Yeah, I know. I
I
can
get
feel
excited
a
about this
headbutt
too. When you
coming.
said that before we got started, I'm like, hell yes. Like, I wake up every day on fire. I can feel her energy. Let's go. So, one thing that I would love to ask you, because value, especially with high net worth clients, that's not a price based conversation, or at least it shouldn't be. It should be very relationship based, valued based. And so,
Right.
I would love to hear how agents, or how you're helping agents with that value. What does that look like? I always get asked, like Mike, they are like, Michael, you always talk about value-based selling, but what does value-based selling even mean? And so Diane, I would pose that question to you. Like, what does that look like?
Yeah. And it looks different for every client. Like for me, it's you can't sell someone something that they don't feel like they need. Like we all know, like we are these insurance geeks. Like we can be at a party this weekend and see that somebody spilled something on the floor and we start to have a panic attack that the liability is probably not good enough in this home. Like no one else does. And even though we in this space fully understand, like, oh, this is how we differentiate ourselves from mass affluent or high net worth from middle market and the products differ. But you first have to understand where those differ. And then when you have conversations with the clients, it's having a non-insurance jargon conversation to find out what's most important to them and really customizing that solution. Like, and then just to give you a quick example, like I know one of the features in the high net worth space is, a client, if they are protected with certain carriers, they have the option if something completely happens to their home, they don't have to rebuild it on site, which is typically required with most homeowners insurance coverage. You have to rebuild on site. But with some of these specialty carriers, you don't. You have the option to take the money and go. And I feel like in our world today, that's even more important. But I'm never going to go to a client and say, hey, would you like to just take the cash and run? What I am going to ask them is if something ever happened to your home, what would you like to do? Like, and the key is, and I know it's really difficult in this space, is just listening to what they're saying.
Mm,
Because that's really going to give you some indication on like, what's your next question then? Like, would it be important for you if you had this option?
Active listening.
mm.
That's right.
It's how marriages survive. It's how
Mhm.
insurance agencies are built.
Yeah.
Active listening. So if somebody's listening to this right now and they're like, "Okay, I understand what you're saying." Is there a basic framework? Are there tools that you can share with us that kind of help somebody get started in what prompts or what questions to ask, or even how to approach that conversation with a client that is geared towards selling off of value versus price?
Yeah, and there's two things. One, if you're looking to do it on your own, it's thinking about all the products that you offer or sell that are unique or different, is ask and design open-ended questions around that product. Like get away from the do you, and it's more of that tell me, describe, explain, and really dumb it down. Like remove any sort of like nobody cares that it's called personal excess liability. What they care is if they ever needed it because somebody's getting sued for their net worth, it's there. Second is you need the support in this industry. And even today, like I don't even know if we were recording when we were talking about the hard insurance market, but moving over to the organization I run now, the Private Risk Management Association, our sole purpose exists to provide real-time education to agents around the world on different ways to carry on conversations with clients, but also get familiar with the different types of products that exist in this space because they're constantly evolving. How to carry on the conversations with the clients, as I just mentioned, but utilizing those type of resources of, in addition to you doing everything you have to in your technical job, it's what other resources exist in the world for you to access to help you do your job better.
Hmm. And I want to go back also to the COIs that you mentioned earlier, because that's
Mhm.
I find that sometimes those relationships, just like you said, take time. So, what
Yes.
have you found works best when developing relationships with the centers of influence? Like, if you wanted to target a wealth management company that helps people out with their investments and they can send high net worth clients over to you, what would be some steps that a agency owner or sales agent could take to develop a relationship with an individual like that?
Yeah. I mean, there's obviously wealth advisor firms all across the country. And first, you really have to get to know them, like in where you are, get to learn, like, I mean, just studying their websites, what type of clients do they go after? And again, the same thing I said at the start that it takes time with a high net worth client, it takes time with a wealth advisor. And I'll never forget years ago, we were doing an event at the Lakers game. I know nothing about, like, I couldn't even tell you what it was. Maybe that was basketball. It's terrible. I'm sorry. But we were entertaining a group of wealth advisors. And I asked the wealth advisor that was sitting next to me, like, hey, how does someone like someone that's PNC broker, how do they create a relationship with you? And he laughed at first and he said, just take a guess. Like the smallest client that I manage, like, what do you think that is? Now, here I am, I'm out in Los Angeles. Like, just take a guess, like the smallest account he managed,
10.
10 million?
100 million.
100 million?
Yeah. Yeah. Then I asked if he was married. No, I'm only kidding. Like,
You're like,
yeah,
hey.
but he was. But he said, I'm not saying that to be cocky, but what I'm saying is I didn't just wake up and said, oh, like I'm going to go after this client and I'm going to get them. I said, no. He said, I would know who I wanted as a client and I would first write their name on a piece of paper. And sometimes it would take 2 years, but I would never even approach their property manager or someone who manages their account without filling out that piece of paper front and back with everything that I've learned about them. And he said, it's not that I'm stalking them, but I'm just learning them about their lifestyles and their needs and who protects them. And he said, then I would go and approach who I had to. And he said, I would never get it the first time around, but I would always stay in the background. I'd be a resource. And he said, nothing irks me more than when I have someone like a personal insurance broker that reaches out to me and says things to me like, let me help you help your clients. Like,
Mm,
first of all, you know nothing about how I help my clients. So that one, that's not going to work. And then when I say no, thank you, they never come back. And I need
mm.
to know that you're serious. And in order for me to trust you, to put you in front of my clients, that's my reputation. I need to know that you know what you're doing. You know what my needs are. And it's also, we should all understand in this space that us and wealth advisors, we're an extension of one another. Like, why they grow a client's portfolio, we come in and protect it from a liability lawsuit. So it's learning these different phrases and nuances, and again, taking your time with them as well, and realizing that just as hard as you were working for your own clients, they also worked for theirs.
Yeah, I hear 2 things in that. First is the singles and doubles. A lot of times when we come out, we go for the home run and we forget that
Correct.
at first it helps to get those singles and doubles to really learn the process, to become better as sales professionals. This isn't everything. We did this when we first were starting our businesses. We would have the home run that we're like, all right, this is who we're going to go after. And we would undervalue the singles and doubles that we needed to get the reps in. But the other thing to that, the whole time you're talking, all I kept thinking is how often we go into any kind of relationship or conversation thinking, what's in it for me?
Yep.
Yep.
What can I take from this relationship? Versus if you're going out and you're talking to somebody who is managing clients at $100 million net worth, it's what is a problem that I can solve for you? How can
Yes.
I help you? Not even your clients, you. What's a problem that something that I offer that I can create a solution
Well,
for?
that's even drilling all the way down to your centers of influence, whether you're trying to establish with a mortgage broker, a real estate agent, a car
Right.
dealership, like great, $100 million wealth manager, fantastic. But it's the same
Yeah.
relationship, no matter what center of influence that you're going to try and build a relationship with. Are you an insurance agent struggling to meet your sales goals? Do you feel overwhelmed and disorganized, making it hard to keep track of your leads and close deals? If so, our sales training program is the solution you've been looking for. Our program is designed specifically for insurance agents who need help improving their sales skills and increasing their productivity. We understand that the insurance industry, it can be highly competitive, fast-paced, which is why we've created a program that will help you stay ahead of the curve and close more deals. We understand that your time is valuable, which is why we've created a program that is flexible and convenient. You can access the sales training lessons and coaching sessions from anywhere at any time so you can fit your training around your busy schedule. Don't let the lack of sales training hold you back from achieving your full potential as an insurance agent. Sign up for our sales training program today and start closing more deals, generating more revenue, and achieving your sales goals with more confidence. There's so much more to the program. So if you're interested in joining the program that's helped over 10,000 insurance agents nationwide, visit our website, www.weaversa.com, or send me a text directly at 816-727-7610 with any questions to find out more.
So when we're talking about getting started on the singles and doubles, is there, I mean, like the conversation itself is the same. Is there something that you're like, don't ever do this when you're walking in to meet with a center of influence for the first time? Because we're talking about all the things to do and a few on what to avoid, but what are like the no-nos that you're like, don't ever go in doing this?
Oh, and to me, and it might be my only personal opinion, but just I love when I go to networking events and I watch this go down. To me, it's really important in that initial discussion is you are not trying to sell yourself. You're not trying to sell your agency. You're not trying to sell, like, let me have access to your clients. What you really should be doing is just having a conversation, like learning. If you were at a wine tasting event, like just talk about the wine and like why are they there? And just like softer questions as opposed to like just diving right into what we're doing. That's not what the event is for. And at some point you'll follow up with them after and saying that, love getting to know you on a personal level. I'd like to get to know you more on a professional level. And you just have those transition phases at your fingertips that's for later. But in that
Mm.
initial meeting, it's just to learn about them because look, I've met a lot of other advisors in my day where I'd said, I don't want to do business with them. It doesn't matter which clients they have access to, but the way they do their business wouldn't work for me or these other brokers.
Be a human. Just
Yes.
be
Oh yeah.
be
Sum it up.
be a, be a human at networking events. I completely agree. When we first started in business, and this was over 10 years ago, I wanted to equip myself with knowing everything. And the more I've gotten into this, it's really so focused on relationships. You're doing
Yes.
business with people that you enjoy, that you want to spend time with, that you're like, "Oh, I connect with them." I put
Yes.
so much value on being over prepared and not enough value on being a human being and
Yep.
connecting. So I love that you bring that up.
It's just like it's kind the conversation, less work, more personal, great. It's the same thing with customers. Like less insurance talk, more relationship talk, the better. Like no matter what you're talking to, whether it's customer, whether you're talking to a relation, somebody you're trying to build a relationship with, if you don't take the time to get to know them, it's never going to be a good conversation.
Mhm.
Like
Right.
just to go up and try to solicit somebody to send your business or even write their business without doing your due diligence first of getting to know them and building rapport with them, man, I don't know. You're a taker. You're not a giver. Nobody likes takers.
It feels like a drive-by liquor store where you're like, "Here, take what you need. Get it. Have it on the go." Let's talk about the PNC market because we were
Yeah.
talking about the hard market that we're in. What are you seeing when you're coaching and training in your space? And what are some things that we can do to improve?
Yeah, I mean, everyone is struggling. I tell this with any broker that I speak to on a daily basis where they feel like they're not hitting their numbers. And I try to say to them, like, nobody's hitting their numbers. Right now, it is survival mode. But what I try to remind people in our space is like, think back to the last time we've ever experienced a market like this. Like, and my hope is nobody says like, "Oh, I remember that," because then you should be retired. Like none of us really worked in a market that was this hard. And I encourage people to think about that also means our clients are not used to buying in this market either. And we have to understand that. And the way we were doing business before has to look different. You know, our clients have to take a different role, and that's on our insurance advisors or brokers to train them on how to do that. And I'll take this right out of, I'll give credit to Chris, one of our risk managers at one of our large insurance carriers. We were having a conversation recently before a large PRMA summit. And he said, Diane, one of the things we have to take a look at is, the same way we take our approach to get our kids into college is the same thing we have to do now to get our clients insured. And we now have to become more risk managers. We have to do a little bit more hand holding with the client. We need to have them take proactive steps to make sure their homes look insurable or are insurable, and preventing it from these catastrophic losses. And nothing is a guarantee. It's getting brokers to understand that it's okay. These conversations will happen and they're going to be difficult. But just as we were saying before, it's like dumb these conversations down. Like it's okay to explain to a client that, look, insurance is a risk management business.
Mhm.
And at a time when the world is so catastrophic and we don't know what's happening next, these insurance companies are going to take measures to make sure that at time of claim, when you need them there, like you've never needed them before, they can be, because they are financially sound. And because of that, you're going to see that it may be more difficult to get access to insurance. You're going to find that it's more difficult to get the same prices you were paying before. But if you just have these real human conversations with them, stop throwing all the insurance jargon into it, like, the clients will get it. And especially in our space, they could afford it. They just don't want to pay for something that they don't think that they need. And that's their job to really, hone in on that. That's why, to me, value-based selling is even bigger now than it has ever been before.
And I could not agree more. All right. Cause I feel like, really, I mean, I feel like the last decade, and maybe not in the high net worth client sector, but like transactional selling has become a thing.
Yes.
And I think that insurance agents, I think that insurance carriers have been able to get away with this transactional model. We've forgotten about the human connection piece. We've forgotten about the risk advisor piece. We're simply get them in, get them out, get on to the next customer, when all the data, everything is saying your customer wants an advisor, your customer wants a relationship, your
Yeah.
customer wants somebody they can turn to when they still want to control everything, don't get me wrong, with their cell phone when they want, when they need it, but they want you because they don't know shit about insurance and they don't know shit about money. Guess who does? You do.
Yep.
But how can you establish yourself as that if you're not taking the time to get to know the customer and be there and be a true advisor? And that's what you're hitting on right now. Like the
Yes.
human piece, getting back to the basics of selling. If you are in sales, it's because you're in sales to solve problems. All right. And the only way that you solve problems is if you ask the questions to get to know the problems, get to know the struggles, in which then you have a product to solve.
Mhm.
Like you have a solution for the problem. You're not selling anything. You're
Yep.
offering solutions. It's just, sorry, I get fired up on this piece because
Don't say sorry.
shit, man. Like it's just like the transactional selling. I'm a firm believer that if things do not change, if you're not willing to adapt to the way the customer wants to be sold to, you are not going to have a position in the next 3 to 5 years in the insurance space, because you will be replaced by technology. You'll be replaced by a robot. If you're doing what robots can do, you will be replaced by a robot. Ran over.
I saw the face.
It's not a rant. It's a conversation that I think is happening more front of the house now. We're talking about it more and more, and we're having to make changes, and it's very uncomfortable. It's not a rant though. It's reality that if we don't pivot and start having human conversations focused on actually asking the questions that get to the root of the problem, then what the hell are we doing? You know?
Right. Right. And I mean, I always push like, you can't do a deck to deck. You can't get a client's deck page, which, first of all, deck page, the name of it kills me, especially when we go to our clients and say, can I have a copy of your deck? They don't know what that is. Like,
Yeah.
they don't but then you get it, and then you just like quote it with another carrier to see if you can get better premium, better cost. Like, no, you never, you don't even know if the existing broker found out what they were concerned about, what kept them up at night, if a catastrophic event happens, how they want their insurance to respond. None of that all has to happen. That takes time. It's all about the quality, though, not the quantity of the clients that you have.
Mm. Mm.
I'm gonna clap. Woo! All about the quality and not the quantity of the clients that you have. Okay, that is the statement for the whole podcast. That's your retention statement, that's your growth statement, that's everything.
So I want to ask you, because I 100% agree with everything you're saying right now. So I want to ask you right now in this hard market, sure, things are more difficult. Sure, maybe you're not writing as much PNC as you used to because you're having to go through some hurdles that carriers are putting you through. So what would you suggest right now? What are you seeing the agents that are still producing at a high level? What are they doing? What have they adapted to ensure that they continue to produce and maybe even are now knocking it out of the park because of the changes they've made?
A lot of them are being more proactive in their outreach to clients. Some right now are getting ahead of what they're monitoring in different states and what's happening. While it may not impact their client directly, they don't want to wait till they get the letter from the insurance company that the client's premium is going to go up 15 to 30%. So they're getting ahead of that and reaching out and saying, this is what we're monitoring. As your insurance advisor, we'll keep you posted. But, rest assured, this is something that we're keeping an eye on, which normally in years past, what they've done is they've waited until that notification has come out from their insurance carrier. And I think that is really making a big difference of it's taking the extra time, but being proactive in that area is huge. And the second piece of it is those that are just, and I know we're all big believers in this, but they don't stop learning. This year, with the Private Risk Management Association, we took like 3 core topics impacting our industry: reinsurance, excess and surplus, flood, and we were putting that in front of our membership. And I was talking to brokers that tend to be more successful were ones who have been in the industry for a while, but have come to me and have said, like, I should have understood reinsurance 101 and I never did. But I feel like it armed me with having a simple conversation with my client of like, I know you don't care that you don't live in California or Florida. You're in the middle of the country and you don't understand why your rates are going up. But what I learned is we have to care about what weather is happening across the globe, because what's happening in Australia right now is going to affect your insurance premium in the middle of the country. And here's why. And I think that's the other piece of it is we have some who want to do what they were doing and they're going to struggle. And we have others that are saying, I can't do what I'm doing. I have to be more proactive and I have to start participating in more educational courses, even if I feel like I knew it all. And I think that's the hardest thing of a CEO of an agency to come forward and say, I sat in a reinsurance 101 and I learned something.
Oh gosh, I love this so much. I get down on Dare to Lead, Brene Brown, every single year, because as a leader, so many times you feel like you have to have all of the answers. And if you are constantly growing and learning and vulnerable in that area, magic happens. So my question to you, what are you getting down on as a trainer, as a coach in this insurance space? Is there any like book or resource right now, Diane, that you're like, oh, I am gobbling this up?
Gosh, there's so much. To me, I've been loving, and that's why the podcast request was amazing. Is just there's so many different insurance podcasts out there, and I don't want to push one over the other. I feel like with my organization, we try to be like agnostic to any sort of carrier or what others are doing. But find insurance podcasts that you like, because I'm finding that they're doing a lot of things that are happening in our industry that is newer, and it's a great way for those of us that are on the go. Like, it's nice to have it up on my computer and listening while I'm multitasking on other things. And I think to me, that's been my own personal favorite, is being able to listen in. We've also been running our own podcasts in-house too, which have been great for my own learning.
Hell yeah.
That's awesome. What's your podcast?
Risk Ready, PRMA Risk Ready podcast.
Got it. All right. We'll drop that in the show notes. So you're already in the earbuds right now. So click in the show notes and you can listen there.
One other thing that I've really latched onto the last like 18 months that I've enjoyed has been the insurance journal. And it's kind of all over the place, but it's got a lot of good information that you could
Yes.
research your market area, you could research what's going on from an industry standpoint. And so if you are somebody that's wanting to stay up to date on industry trends, just not that's going on with your own specific carrier, that's one thing I've also enjoyed. Like the podcast, I would 100% agree with you. Like there's a lot of so many great podcast information out there. So
Agreed. Yeah, and I definitely agree with you on the insurance journal. It's something I encourage my staff to be a part of too, because it's like it's the best way to get real-time information of what's happening in the industry.
Yeah. Diane, this has been a fantastic, fantastic conversation. I have had a
My
blast.
pleasure.
If somebody wanted to connect with you, follow you, keep up in what you are doing, what's the best way for them to follow along?
Yeah. So if you go to the privateriskmanagement.org webpage, you'll learn more about the organization on the About Us page. You can link to my email directly. You can also find us on LinkedIn. So the Private Risk Management Association, short for PRMA. If you find us there, you'll see some of the upcoming educational offerings that we're doing around the country. But that's the best way to connect with myself or anyone on my team.
fantastic. Well, Diane, thank you so much again. It's been great. I could nerd out all day long with some sales training. All right. This has been great.
We should get started.
For those of you that are listening, thank you so much for your time as well. As we know, time is the most valuable and important asset that we all have. So we appreciate you taking the time out of your busy day to spend it with us. Thank you so much. Go out and make it great. Diane, thank you again.
Thank you.